right, y'all. So I am back for part 2 of balance. So I talked about in the last video how balance is the heart chakra because that's the neutral. That's what neutralizes your karma. It's where you come into the 0-point field, the quantum fields, where you can create whatever it is you like. And so I want you to start to tap into your heart space in a different way. Start to see it in a different way. One of the things you can do when you look at your heart, you can look at it like your innocence, your purity, your inner child. So I see what people call the higher self, but the upper region as the father energy, it's your masculine energy, it's the realm of thought in the mental realm. And then the lower self as the realm of your mother. This is where babies come through the world to be born. It's where your emotions and your feelings lie. And so the heart is that holy union of the father and the mother. It's where the child comes through. It's where the innocence comes through. It's literally where the space in which we are able to channel and to bring through unconditional love. Is where we create from a space of unconditional love. And it is the space where there's no time, there's no space. It is where everything exists at once. It is where all possibilities are possible. It's where everything is possible. And so when you learn how to attune to your heart chakra, when you learn how to come into a space of tapping into your soul, your divine rhythm, your divine frequency, the God frequency, you can do anything. And you can be anything. It's where you go into a unified field. It's where you commune with everything in existence. It's where you realize there is no separation. That's the biggest reason why as humans suffer, because the human mind feels separate from everything else. It feels alone and individual. In the heart space is where you realize that there is no separation, that this beautiful life that we call a tree, that I am a part of it and it's a part of me, is where you realize that just like water, that the drops are all connected and form one body, the same with you. We are all one unified body. We are all part of the unified field. What we are is the unified field. And when we come into this existence and we embody this human or a geese or whatever, we are choosing to experience existence as this particular thing. But it's not who or what we are. And in the heart is where you get to this realization, this knowingness. So another thing is the yang energy, our masculine energy, is the knowing, is knowledge. This is where we come into knowledge. The lower half of us, our feminine energy, the mother, is where we come into wisdom. The heart is where the understanding lies. So the understanding is the baby. It is the marriage, the divine union, the holy matrimony of the mother and the father. The baby's the understanding. And so once we get into our heart space, which let me say this, a lot of people's hearts, they think they're in their heart, but they're not. It is still a part of the mind matrix that has created an artificial heart. When you are really in your heart space and it opens up, you automatically connect to your compassion. You automatically connect and become more unified. You automatically feel a unity and a connection with everyone. You can automatically see yourself in everyone. You don't see that person as being, oh, this person's just an idiot. And not saying that they're not, but you see a version of yourself that used to be that. Right? You automatically like, oh, I remember when I used to feel or think this way. Or even if you don't have that particular understanding, you do have the understanding that this person is just in this level of life, and you can understand why they feel or think that way, and you have a compassion because you understand that this is where they are right now in the game of life. And it is not up to you to judge that. The heart is where you come into a less judgmental space, is when you come into a more neutral space. That's the perfect word. You neutralize everything. Understanding helps you. It's the great neutralizer. Because when you come into understanding, there's no need to judge it, because you understand why it's happening the way it is. You understand why a person's life is the way it is. You understand that the person's not in a space of unconditional love. Therefore, they are going to judge everything around them. They're going to analyze. So the father aspect of us is where we analyze everything. And analyzation is a part of life, because through analyzation is the first step in starting to understand the reasoning behind why things are the way that they are. When you drop into the wisdom, the mother, you come into a connection of how things are expressing itself in a certain way, because it's helping us all grow. So this person is operating in self-doubt because it's helping them understand that even in their self-doubt, it is bringing them into a space of truth, in that they already have the answer. Because to doubt yourself is to feel like you don't know something. To doubt yourself is to feel like you can't trust yourself. But through the doubt, through going through that experience, you're able to come into the truth of self, that I've always had the answers, that all I had to do was go in. Because everything outside of yourself is only going to give you part of it, or it's going to give you really untruths. And so through seeing that this person gave you untruth, you're like, you know what? I remember when I got the answer. I remember I asked the question, and the answer that came up was the truth the whole time. So you start to trust yourself, trust your inner wisdom, that the answers were always there. But the doubt was tricking you out of your truth. So that's where the wisdom comes in. And then the understanding comes in when you realize, oh, that path that I was traveling, it was always divine. It was always taking me back into the truth of who I am. It was always taking me back into the truth. You see, I'm going in the truth of who I am. Everything has always been divine. I've never not been on a divine path. That's where the heart leads you to. That everything has always been working out in my best interests. I have always been favored. Even when I was going through a challenge, it was always in my best interest. It was always to bring me back into truth. The heart is where truth comes in. Understanding is where truth comes in. The absolute truth. There is no more lying. There's no more illusion. It's all truth. The heart is where energy comes in, where you can really see everything from an energetic standpoint. So when we operate in the heart space, when we get into balance with our own self and with our own God power, with the God force that is literally animating everything in existence, that's where you get into truth. That's where you get into wholeness. That's where you get into completeness, and that's where you get into perfection. So in this aspect and in this part of the I Am series, you realize yourself as being the absolute creator of your own reality. That everything is an absolute reflection of you, an absolute reflection of who you think you are. It's an absolute reflection of who you are at that moment, what frequency you are vibrating on at that moment. That's it. When I first started my spiritual awakening part of my journey, and we all start at that level of knowledge. We are seekers of knowledge. Why are we seeking knowledge? Because we're trying to figure out who we are. It's the journey of who am I? That's it. And you have this hunger to connect with the truth of who you are. So you go on a search, you go on a quest. And then the second leg of your journey is where you go into the wisdom. The wisdom is where you start to embody the things that you were learning. So where in knowledge, you were reading books, You were finding all these YouTube channels of people who were talking about things that you were asking questions about. So you're seeking outside of yourself and not in a phase of knowledge. You're seeking outside of yourself through books, through other reflections that are speaking about things that you want to learn about. But wisdom is where you start embodying things, is when you start having these experiences for yourself. So where you might have read how somebody else's spiritual journey went and how they came into this knowledge, you start experiencing things and you come into your own gnosis, your own knowledge, your own wisdom. And through the knowledge and the wisdom, you come into an understanding of self, of who and what you truly are. That's what the heart affords you. It affords you to be in your absolute truth, your authentic self. Everybody talks about authenticity. You don't get there without being in your heart space. Because in the heart space is where you don't give a fuck about nobody else's opinions. You don't give a fuck about how anybody else sees you. You don't give a fuck about your past quote unquote mistakes, your past relationships. You don't give a fuck about what anybody thinks about that, because you understand without all of that, you would not have come into your truth and the fullness of who and what you are. So that's what balance is, y'all. I take you through the truth of who you are. I bring you to the truth of who you are. Actually, you bring yourself there. I'm a facilitator and a guide to help you get back into the knowing and the wisdom and the understanding of who and what you are. It's where you release all of your trauma, because you realize it's not really trauma, it's experience. So this is what Spirit told me what a challenge is. Your greatest challenge is your greatest healing. That's what Chiron represents, your greatest healing. Because in that healing is your greatest wisdom and your greatest gift. Your gift lies in that trauma. The reason why it was so quote unquote traumatic is because the harder you get hit, the bigger the event, the more you will remember, the faster you will remember. It's like a wake-up call. Think about it. A lot of people, I don't do alarm clocks anymore, but a lot of people will set an alarm. And some people cannot wake up unless the alarm is absolutely obnoxious and loud and scare them up out of their sleep. Think about your challenge, what we call trauma, as that thing that is supposed to wake you up, startle you out of your sleep. To me, the 3D is the densest rim of the dream. Everything is a dream, but the 3D is the most dense level of the dream. We are all in a virtual reality, and these avatars that we chose our character, we chose our experience, we chose the gifts that we wanted to express in this life. And when you become lucid here, you start to wake up on all levels of the dream. And when you fully awaken, you come into the absolute truth of who and what you are. And so the reason why we chose our path, and I'm gonna use path in a numerology standpoint, from a numerology standpoint. I have an 8 life path. And with the 8 life path, it comes a set of challenges. People are always gonna challenge me being a boss. I'm gonna receive experiences that challenge my abundance and my ability to receive money, to create money, my ability to be abundant, because that's the path of the boss, of abundance, of a lot of money. So I came into this knowing I'm gonna have these challenges come up that tell me that I'm not worthy of that, because I'm actually the opposite. I'm extremely worthy. I've always been worthy. So look at it that way. We all chose a path. We have a certain number called the life path. And with that life path is gonna come a certain set of challenges. Those challenges are only reaffirming your greatness. If you're a 1, those challenges, you're going to receive experiences that people are always going to try to tell you what to do or make you feel like you're not the leader. But I bet you the jobs, the roles you attract are all going to be like a manager, are always going to be some type of leader. People are always, even though you're going to be feeling like you're not that, everything around you, you're going to be being called to that path. That's what a calling is. All of your experiences are calling you into the path that you chose to be in this life. You chose to journey in this life. You chose to express in this life. You chose to manifest in this life. That's really what it is. So start reframing. That's another part. I did a video talking about the full moon in Scorpio. We get to reframe what our life is, what our traumas were, what they activated in us, what they gave us. Your biggest activations are your traumas. Your biggest activations are your challenges. So start asking yourself, what is it that this experience was activating? What did this event activate in me? And you speak to the activation, not the trauma. You breathe life into the activation. That's how you transform the trauma. You don't transform the trauma by continuously talking about the motherfucking trauma. You don't do that. We don't do that. Here, we are alchemists. On this channel, we are alchemizing that into our greatest gift. We're not a wounded healer. We're not wounded. We are the wise healers. We are the wise ones. We are the activators, the alchemists, the transformers. That's what alchemy is. You take the densest, most horrible thing that happened in your life and you transform that into your motherfucking power. Scorpio is all about the power and how you utilize your power. We've always had the power, but you have been utilizing it in a way that is to your fucking detriment. We have been utilizing the power in a way that is to our destruction. That's how we've been using Scorpio. We've been destroying it and destructing it, but we haven't become the phoenix. We have to become the phoenix and rise from the ashes. We burn that motherfucking trauma down and we turn that shit into our abundance. We turn it into our glory. We turn it into our greatness. We turn it into our prosperity. That is what we do. What are you doing with your power? Stop using your power for your destruction only. Yes, destruction is a part of it. We got to have a tower moment, Mars. But it's not a continuous, it's only a short amount of time. It's not a continual tower moment. We're not always tearing shit down. At some point, you got to get out of the stage of the baby where you are knocking down your blocks and you're always knocking shit down. You got to build now. What are you building? You got to build that energy into the image of what you want it to be. And not always a hoping and a praying and a wishing. So if you haven't seen my video talking about the Scorpio full moon, tap into that motherfucker right now. Because where Taurus new moon activated your self-worth, it activated our second house, and it also activated the house in which you have Taurus. We have double activations with every new moon and every full moon. It always activates the house that it naturally rules, and it also activates the house where you have that sign. So if it's in a different place, it's going to activate two different spots. If it's in the same spot, you're going to have an amplified activation in that house. So get into it, get in tune with it. We are about balance now, y'all. We about balance. We are no longer operating in just a yin energy or just a yang energy. We are operating in both. We are bringing that shit together. We are operating in wholeness, perfection, and completeness. I don't want to hear nobody say nobody's perfect. That is bullshit. That is a motherfucking lie that Todd set up to come with us with the bullshit from anybody who's a Real Housewives of Atlanta fan. That's a setup to keep you stuck in the loop of karma. That's why niggas are in karmic debt. That's where karma comes from, because you're always feeling like there is something you need to fix. There is something you did wrong. There is something somebody else did wrong. It's always something wrong. So you're creating your karma right now. But you can also cancel it out through the heart space. You neutralize it, because that's where you're whole. That's where you're perfect. And that's where you've always been complete. So that's balance. So for those who haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Here, At your cosmic sanctuary, we are always whole. We are always perfect. We are always complete. Okay? We are holistic energy alchemists here. We change anything into our greatness. We make everything serve us. We make everything operate in our favor. Everything is serving me. Do you hear me? And it's serving you too. You just have to know that. So, subscribe to this channel, like it, share it, download my astrology key guide, download and listen to my divine birth activation so you can get into your wholeness. We about wholeness around these parts. So go ahead and tap in, guys. I love y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. And on that note, I was going to end it. Peace. A matter of fact, wholeness.